so what will the left do to stop President Trump from taking office? I clearly think assassination is not off the table. This is why, if you've been around President Trump lately, and I've been down in Palm Beach, and the security in and around Mar-a-Lago is like nothing I've ever seen. In fact, I would offer up the security is even greater than it was when he was president the first time around. That is a very good thing, that they're taking the threat against President Trump very, very seriously. Trust me, the left will not stop until they ensure that President Trump does not take office. I don't think they'll be successful, but that doesn't mean they're not going to stop trying. Well, folks, I want to tell you about Patriot Mobile. You know, I have a Patriot Mobile phone. I'm so happy with it. Patriot Mobile is all about supporting the programs, causes, charities that believe in the things we believe in. Why would you be giving money to the big three woke cell phone companies that literally practice DEI policies inside their corporate structure? They literally fund places like Planned Parenthood, when you could be with Patriot Mobile, that's supporting our veterans, that's protecting our gun rights, that is literally taking the fight when it comes to free speech to the left, putting "In God We Trust" signs in schools, and for this, the media comes after them so hard. Patriot Mobile, I urge you to get a Patriot Mobile phone. Hey, I got a Patriot One plan, one phone, two lines, two different networks. So in an emergency, one network's down, I got it covered. PatriotMobile.com/Grant, PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's where I want you to go. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. And I promise you, you are not going to regret it. You can call them at 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, and you tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. Now, they also have other plans for President Trump, like the 14th Amendment. This is Jamie Raskin spelling out his plot to stop President Trump from taking office, I guess, on January 6th when they vote to certify the election. Remember that date.
Because what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, you know, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then
that he's disqualified because of the 14th Amendment? First off, I don't think they've even read the 14th Amendment. If you read the 14th Amendment, to me it's very clear. One, it doesn't even apply to the President of the United States of America. The 14th Amendment, this idea that if you take part in an insurrection, you can't be a president. Quote, this is 14th Amendment, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as member of Congress, or as an officer of the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid and comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may vote by a vote of 2/3 of each house to remove such disability. Now, one, President Trump has never been charged with insurrection. He's never been convicted of insurrection. Even the impeachment didn't bring up insurrection. Two, notice the offices that I laid out for you. When you read it, it basically says senator or representative of Congress, elector of president or vice president. They go out of their way to spell out which offices at a federal level, and they do not mention the presidency of the United States. That, I do believe, was all by design. So President Trump's not even eligible for that. So now you have Jamie Raskin basically saying, hey, we're going to institute this on January 6th, and we're going to light the mob on fire. That's all of us, by the way. They want another January 6th to happen. And listen to what he says he needs.
We need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what.
These people are so out of touch with reality. President Trump overwhelmingly won this election, which tells me that there are plenty of people in the middle, including Democrats, that support President Trump and his quest to make America great again. And the proof of that is there is a calmness that has overtaken this country that I've not seen in a long time. Maybe it's because the election season is over, an election season that lasted longer than any election I've ever seen. 4 years this election cycle was. Maybe it's because it's over, there's a calmness, but I think it's more than that. I think it's they see the steadfast leadership of President Trump. They see what our enemies are now starting to do. Putin and Zelensky talking about peace. Hamas talking about bringing up a deal. You have Mexico now stopping caravans in Mexico. You literally have the stock market flourishing, business owners looking to invest again. All of this is because President Trump brings a certainty and a sense of leadership about him that puts America in a very, very calm state. But that doesn't stop the radicals inside the United States Congress, like Jamie Raskin, who wants to institute the Fourth Amendment to stop President Trump. I told you about the assassinations. They've already tried, I believe, 3 times, that we know about, maybe more. Then there's this clown from North Carolina who wants to institute a shadow government if, in their opinion, God forbid, President Trump makes it to the White House. A shadow government.
Speaker, last week stung. As Democrats, we simply failed to convince the American people we have better ideas to solve their problems. But we do. Now we need to dust ourselves off and get ready to fight. We can't let Donald Trump's extreme MAGA agenda go unanswered or unopposed. Zone defense isn't going to work. We're going to have to go man on man. So here's an idea for how to organize our opposition. We need to borrow from our British friends and appoint a shadow cabinet to fight back against the worst abuses of a second Trump administration. The special relationship between the United States and Britain extends not just to our strength on the global stage, but also to our shared commitment to democracy. Across the Atlantic, the British have something we don't: a team from the opposition that mirrors the government's own cabinet members.
Are you freaking kidding me? I almost dropped an F-bomb myself. I wouldn't do that on this program, but he wants me. The guy wants me to. Are you kidding? Institute a shadow government and just who would he bring in as a shadow government? Let's see.
Attempts to weaponize the justice system against his political opponents with Matt Gaetz at the helm. We could see incoming Senator Adam Schiff as our shadow attorney general, arguing against replacing our independent prosecutors with Trump loyalists.
Adam Schiff is a shadow attorney general. Now, obviously, this was before Matt Gaetz stepped down from his nomination. Adam Schiff, a guy who should be brought up on charges of treason, who's lied to the American people, who's leaked classified information to the press, which is a crime, by the way. Adam Schiff, that's who you want leading your shadow government. Let's see, anybody else?
If Trump seeks to eliminate the Department of Education, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes, a former Teacher of the Year, could step up as shadow education secretary to loudly defend public education in the United States. If Trump orders Marco Rubio to hand Ukraine and much of Eastern Europe to Russian President Vladimir Putin, Congressman Greg Meeks, as Shadow Secretary of State, could be a strong voice in support of maintaining international relationships and protecting democracy at home and abroad.
We were told that the deep state is phony baloney. It's a conspiracy theory. Now he's on the floor of the House of Representatives talking about instituting a shadow government. They're one and the same. The people he just mentioned are the same people that are running the deep state. They're the handlers for the deep state bureaucrats that are dug in so deep in Washington that President Trump will root out, I promise you, and he will. I mean, this kind of stuff is lunacy, but it's very real. Don't think they're kidding. They're not. They're dead ass serious when it comes to this stuff. I'll play you just a little more.
Senator Michael Bennet as Shadow Treasury Secretary, and Congresswoman Susan DelBene as Shadow Commerce Secretary could help ensure the middle class and small business.
Oh, you know what? Shut up. I can't take it. Honestly, I don't want to hear about who his stupid, he's going to say Rosa DeLauro for something. That's the purple-haired woman from Connecticut. These are not people we want running the government. The people have spoken. Do these lawmakers not understand that? The people have spoken and they said, we want President Trump and we want him to pick a cabinet of competent people, strong leaders who will make America great again. And that, folks, is exactly what President Trump is going to do. Now, he needs us. He needs us to stand firm, spread the word, spread the message as much as possible, and he needs the Secret Service to keep him safe. Believe me, before we get to January 20th and beyond, because they will never stop their quest to take this man out. He is too dangerous to the deep state, the shadow government, and the money they all are making. Money and power. That, folks, is what it's all about. Folks, so you want to be in Bitcoin, but the wild swings, the volatility scares the crap out of you. I don't blame you. So you know what I've done? I get monthly returns now, literal cash flow, being in Bitcoin, but only in mining. So the secret to success when it comes to Bitcoin is in the mining. And this is what Get21Now.com does. It's a company called NFN8. I'm involved with them. I've already started getting my checks. This is institutionalized giant warehouses of these servers. This is an impressive operation. They've been doing this for a long time. I've vetted them. I've talked to them. I want you to talk to them too. I used to buy businesses, right? I'd have to deal with employees and angry customers and paying bills and all of the headaches that come along with that. Folks, I get 21% now on my money, paid monthly. This is cash flow, baby. And look, NASDAQ is already trading Bitcoin as a commodity. This is real stuff. The future is now. Get21Now.com. You want to have cash flow, monthly payments, talk to these guys, all right? Talk to them. They've promised stuff to me, and they have lived up to every promise they have made to me. Get21Now.com. Get21Now.com. Pay them a visit today and tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. I have a New Year's wish for everybody out there. This is a good one. It's a big one, and we need it. But the sad reality is, I don't think there's any chance of me getting this wish granted to me. I want term limits for the United States Congress, both the House and the Senate. And for that matter, I would love term limits at every level of government, state government, local government, county government, you name it. The problem is right now in America, we have a ruling class of career bureaucrats who are enabled by the ruling class of career politicians. How do we get back to getting a government that is by and for the people? Simply, it's easy. You institute term limits. You know, the greatest mistake our founding fathers ever made was not writing term limits into the Constitution. Why didn't they? The answer to me is very simple. I think our founding fathers, even though they envisioned every single thing possible that could go wrong and they had a plan for it in the Constitution, I don't think they envisioned jet airplanes shuttling members of Congress back and forth to Washington, D.C. I think they thought if you have to ride a horse from Maine to D.C. in the middle of winter, you're not going to want to do that for 3 decades. Well, sadly, we now have members of Congress who are in there longer than 3 decades. I want you to think about this. You've got Nancy Pelosi's 84. Mitch McConnell is 82. Joe Biden is 82. You've got Dianne Feinstein, the senator from California. She died at age 90. Chuck Grassley, the Republican senator from Iowa, is 91 years old. Now, Chuck Grassley's probably more with it than Mitch McConnell is, and he's almost a decade older. So it's not just about age, but we would not be running into these problems if we had term limits in place. We also have the issue of American politicians, members of Congress taking advantage of their position, trading stocks and getting wealthy. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I started thinking about term limits because of this story with Congresswoman Kay Granger. Kay Granger is a congresswoman from Tarrant County, Texas, just west of Dallas, Fort Worth area. Okay? She's 81 years old. She has not voted since the end of July. Now remember, we have a razor-thin margin in the United States Congress, and Kay Granger has not voted since July. Why? Well, we're now learning, thanks to the Dallas Express newspaper, that Kay Granger is in a nursing home. apparently a mental care unit. So what we are now learning as well from insiders, thanks to the Dallas Express, that there are members of her senior staff that says this has been going on for 2 years. Now, no one would admit it was happening. The Dallas Express simply wanted to interview Kay Granger when we were dealing with this spending fight over the last couple of weeks. They show up at her office, and it's locked. There's nobody there. In fact, it's cleaned out. So they do some great gumshoe work, and they track her down to a nursing home. So this is what happened when they showed up at the nursing home. Listen carefully here.
Hey, Taylor. Carl Stursis with the Dallas Express. We were just wondering if Congressman Kay Granger an entry in search of budget right now is being debated in D.C.
Yeah, this is a personal residence, actually. Okay. Yeah, so this isn't an office or any sort of come and go. Yeah, everything would need to be by appointment through her. These are residences.
Okay.
So he says there, this is her personal residence. This is a nursing home. She's still a sitting member of the United States Congress, and she's gone, apparently. And I mean gone physically in a nursing home and apparently gone mentally.
Yeah, I don't have a contact for you or anything like that, but I would reach out directly to her team and set something up.
Well, the reason why we came is because her office is empty right now. So we went
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that, unfortunately. But this is her home.
Okay.
So.
This is her home. We now have a point in time where we have sitting members of Congress that their home is a nursing home. Maybe the United States Congress is actually the nursing home when you run down the number of people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s inside that building. That's the nursing home. No wonder they're serving vanilla pudding, chocolate pudding, and yogurt drinks. Nobody can eat solid food anymore in the United States Congress. I exaggerate, but I'm trying to make a point here. So this, again, is a great example of why we need term limits. And it also is an example of why this is so egregious. So Carlos Tercios, who is with the Dallas Express, went on InfoWars to explain this story as he sees it. And it really backs up where I am through all of this, that term limits are a real necessity.
Here is Congresswoman Kay Granger. We actually were reaching out to discuss and ask her questions about the spending bill that was being debated in D.C. We called her district office and congressional office in D.C., and none of them, of course, picked up. And
so nobody picks up, and they don't pick up for a reason. They don't pick up because there's nobody there. You know, those people need to be held accountable as well. Senior staff especially. If you're an intern, what are you going to do? But senior staff pulling the wool over the American people?
essentially, taxpayers were still paying her. They were paying her staff. And this is a crucial period right now since the Trump administration is, in a transition phase. And of course, there were a lot of debates such as the spending bill and other crucial votes, and she was MIA. It's basically taxation without representation. And so ultimately, the Daily Mail, the New York Times, a lot of these media outlets, they report on it. Elon Musk reshared it, Lips of TikTok, and other outlets as well. But it was a major discovery. And of course, it's a major shock because, it's a cover-up in essence. President Biden has had cognitive issues. That's a fact. But this one is worse because there was no press release. There's no video of her since March. She just disappeared without noticing, her constituents and letting them know. But most importantly, since she represents the largest Republican city in the country, and she left her constituents in the dark, not providing them any transparency whatsoever, taxation without representation, and ultimately her staff, in total, getting paid, more than $1 million using taxpayers' money and not disclosing that she has been dealing with dementia issues, as her son stated to one of the local media outlets here in the Metroplex.
Dementia issues, folks. This, what I'm about to show you here, is that reporter going in and confronting Kay Granger's son. What is up with the family? I mean, the family basically, by having their loved ones, like Joe Biden's family, continue to work in situations where they are incapable of working, that amounts to elder abuse. So that reporter showed up at Kay Granger's son's restaurant, and this is how it went down. He was not happy.
Hey, Carlos. I know you are, man. You know I'll never talk to you. That's what you did my mother. You worked for her campaign. Then you went ahead and while you're doing that, you work for Putnam. You're actually doing that. Man, I have no space for you, Mom. You need to get the fuck out of here.
I mean,
Did you hear me? Now it's private property. I can kick you out of here. But you, man, you better get out of here right now. If you fucking did, you're a horrible person. Get out of here. Got it? All right. You know why, too? Because of you. Because of you.
So, choice words, dropping some F-bombs. Now, I understand why he's upset that this is happening with his mother. You get your mother in a nursing home. She apparently has dementia. And we're told now she had dementia going back a couple of years from senior staff. She was the chairwoman of the Appropriations Committee, one of the most powerful committees on the face of the planet, much less the United States Congress. Large latitude leeway on how money gets spent in this country, which gives you a lot of power. Lobbyists come lining up at your door. And she had dementia while she's the chairwoman of that committee. And she ultimately stepped down from that committee. But here we are in a position where she hasn't voted in 6 months. So how much is enough when it comes to term limits? I think when it comes to the United States Senate, 2 terms is enough. 2 6-year terms, 12 years for United States Senator, and then you're out, you're gone. That's a long time in Washington, D.C. But it pales in a comparison to some people. As I mentioned, Chuck Grassley's 91 years old. He's been there for decades. For the United States Congress, for a House of Representatives, for a member of the Representatives, I think we should change the term to 4 years instead of 2 years, so our representatives are not constantly campaigning and literally placating lobbyists and big money donors instead of placating their voters. Change it to 4 years and only have 2 terms. That means you basically have one elected cycle for both the House and the Senate as an elected official, one time. You'll start thinking about your constituents before you're thinking about big money donors. And also, I would hope it would stop people from spending decades and decades and decades and causing a situation where national security is really being put at risk through all of this. Now, why does this matter? Well, you have members of the United States Senate like Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's gone. Hey, we call him marble mouth, he's marble brains. This was not long ago. Let me remind you of this. And also, he just took another spill, too. And every time he takes a spill, like Joe Biden, he loses more and more of his mental capacity.
I had a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Woohoo! Check out.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
yes.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
It's like his brain short circuits.
Come with us.
It's hard to watch.
Okay.
Now, that's after the first time he did it. Why didn't he step down sooner? I mean, he hasn't even stepped down. Why isn't he stepping down? But why hasn't he done it even sooner? Because it wasn't long ago that we watched Mitch McConnell go through this episode. Now, I want to say this, that this is painful to watch, and I don't want to see him suffer. But it is also a prime example of why you can't be a member of Congress, much less the leader of Republicans in the United States Senate, while you're dealing with issues like this.
And a string of
much. Anything else you want to say, or should we just go back to your press? Do you want to say anything else to the press? Okay, let's go back.
Go ahead, John.
I'll take it. Let's go back to you.
Go ahead, John.
I mean, quite frankly, it's painful to watch. But it's just wrong because as much as Mitch McConnell suffers, the American people suffer. And this is questions of national security. It really is. Now, what about the issue of you spend so much time in Congress that you end up taking advantage of your position, taking advantage of the American people? All right, does anybody notice a difference with me? I've lost now, yes, if you can believe it, 12 pounds in just 3.5 weeks on the Energized Health program. The secret is in the science, but it's also in the simplicity. I am not killing myself with workouts. Yes, I work out with weights, and I always had, but I've added in a very small workout to this program. Super easy. I have a diet plan now. I am never hungry. I don't feel like I'm struggling through this diet. It is super simple. And I'm getting myself hydrated. It is all about cellular hydration, and the results you can achieve are absolutely astonishing. And I'm telling you firsthand, folks. I got involved with them. They came to me and said, hey, we want you to try this out. I said, okay, I could tighten things up a little bit. And bing, bang, boom, I'm on track, man. And I credit energizedhealth.com/Grant, energizedhealth.com/Grant. There's coaching involved in this. There's recipes involved in this. The plan is all laid out for you. And again, it is super simple. This is life-changing, mind, body, soul. It's a total body transformation. God bless the folks at Energized Health who are helping me. energizedhealth.com/Grant. Check them out today. Nancy Pelosi, who is 84 years old, she had a spill. She went into the hospital, had a, quote, hip replacement. And meanwhile, she's worth about $275 million, according to some estimates. She's made $175,000 a year in the United States Congress. And she's worth $275 million. I understand her husband's a savvy businessman, but there's a reason why he is. It's called using the contacts of the former Speaker of the House. And it's also called profiting off what I would consider to be insider information. That's what Nancy Pelosi uses to make her money. So Joe Rogan and Rod Blagojevich, remember him? Joe Rogan brought this up. Listen.
I supported Nancy Pelosi in the House, okay?
I support her stock trades.
Yeah, I didn't know about any of those.
You go to Pelosi Stock Tracker?
No.
You ever seen it? Oh, it's
No.
so good.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
No kidding.
I'm not really a stock market person. I don't pay attention. But I do know people that are very invested in the stock market. And Pelosi Stock Tracker is legit. Like, you could find out what she's buying, and you should buy it.
That is really, really interesting. Well, if I want to...
She's a really good stockbroker, Rod.
I'm going to do that tomorrow because I told you I want to...
She's super good at it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a joke. There are a lot of people that make a lot of money following Nancy Pelosi stock trades. Now, they're behind by a couple of months. Last I checked, even if you followed Nancy Pelosi's trades and you're behind by a month or two, you're still making like 40% on your money for the year. Here's why it's a little less than Nancy Pelosi. She averages a return of 54% a year. 54% a year. She was the Speaker of the House. She was a longtime member of Congress. 54%? I mean, this is better than Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett averages 31.6% a year. And people will put millions of dollars with him because they know that return, 31.6%, is a crazy good return. But Nancy Pelosi's at 54% a year for her career. But get this, in 2023, all right, she's 84 now, so figure when she's 83 years old, she had a rate of 65% returns. 65%. If this doesn't tell you you need term limits, if not for the sheer fact that people should not be getting rich off of the information they and only they can receive. This isn't fair. The American people don't get the same information. So Nancy Pelosi, I always remember this. She was asked about whether or not we should do away with members of Congress trading while they're in office. I think it's a good idea. put your portfolio into a blind trust, let a professional trade it. I'm not going to say you got to divest everything, but you should have no ability to make decisions on what you trade while you're in office. If we can't get term limits through, that will limit members of Congress because they're not going to want to give up control of their accounts for that long. But this is her being asked about that. Her response is classic.
Should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to this second one. We have a responsibility to report in the stock, on the stock, but I'm not familiar with that 5-month review, but if people aren't reporting, they should be.
Why should they?
Because this is a free market and we're a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
Free market economy? Well, then I would like access to inside all of your meetings with your staff. I would like access to all of your meetings with lobbyists. I would like access to all the meetings when companies come and beg you for certain legislation because they're going to have a sale that goes through, or they've come up with a new product, or we have an issue with a pandemic and you're going to streamline vaccines to be pushed through. I would like access to all of those things so I can know where to invest. The American people don't have access to that. Again, term limits. You need a constitutional amendment. How do you get the constitutional amendment through? Because you know lawmakers aren't going to support it, and by and large, the American people do. This is the one spot where Republicans and Democrats, voters, agree overwhelmingly. They want term limits. You know who doesn't agree? The politicians themselves. They don't want to be ousted from their positions of power. So I would offer this up. I'm not sure it can be done, but I would offer it up. I think it can. You grandfather current politicians in. So if we get the constitutional amendment, if you already hold office, you're not subject to the term limits. Now you're going to say, well, Grant, we're going to be dealing with the same problem. Yes, you're right about that, but we'll only be dealing with the same problem for a limited amount of time. Even if it takes 20 years to start filtering everybody out, that's 20 years sooner than they'll be filtered out if we don't institute it that way. Because if we never institute term limits, they'll stay there forever. I'll give up to 20 years to have decades from now when my son is 35, 40 years old, that we have a Congress that has term limits and now works for the people, by the people, of the people. I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Grandfather them in. It's a controversial move, but I actually think that it would absolutely work. All right, we've got to get that done. No doubt about it. All right, what about the issue now of President Trump and his new executive orders that have to be done on day one? I believe President Trump will come in with a slew of executive orders. Many of them are already written. I promise you that. I've talked to many people close to his inner circle. These executive orders are typed up, especially when it comes to immigration. He's got Stephen Miller working very close to him, who's been so instrumental the first term in closing down the borders. These things are going to be ready to go on day one. This is him talking to the folks over at Meet the Press just after he won.
I understand that on day one, you're going to be signing a flurry of executive orders. Can you give me just what are the top ones people should know about?
A lot will have to do with economics. A lot's going to have to do with energy. A lot's going to do with having to do with the border. We're going to immediately strengthen up the border and do a real job. And some of the basics.
All right, so that's what we need are, of course, the basics. So when we talk about the basics from President Trump, what do we start with? I say birthright citizenship, not to mention look, he's going to do a whole slew on day one. So what's first or what's fifth, it doesn't really matter. They're day one executive orders. You start reconstruction of the wall. That has to happen right away. You put Remain in Mexico in place, meaning if you have an asylum claim, you've got to sit it out in Mexico before you come across. You do away with the CBP One app. That's that crazy app that allows people to make an asylum claim on their phone and then filter into the United States. That, too, was an end run around the law. You get rid of that. But you also end birthright citizenship. So important that happens. President Trump talked about that.
Biden has launched an illegal foreign invasion of our country, allowing a record number of illegal aliens to storm across our borders From all over the world they came. Under Biden's current policies, even though these millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully, all of their future children will become automatic U.S. citizens. Can you imagine? They'll be eligible for welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, the right to vote, chain migration, and countless other government benefits, many of which will also profit the illegal alien parents.
Of course. So we've got to end birthright citizenship. He can do it. I actually believe it's within the Constitution for him to do it because I don't think it's what the Constitution spells out. I think it's misinterpreted. Now, what else will he get to business on? So we've got immigration. We've got to drill, baby, drill. He's got to open up many of these permits, start pushing those through right away. And then, of course, there's the transgender issues. Women competing, being forced to compete against very strong, brutal men in sports where these injuries of these poor women are getting out of control now. President Trump says, yes, day one, that will be part of his plan.
And on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy. And I will sign executive orders to end child sexual mutilation, get transgender out of the military and out of our elementary schools and middle schools and high school.
That's what you want to hear from President Trump. And you see the applause. You hear the applause. They love it because it makes no sense. These universities that have adopted this woke ideology that totally goes against every principle of feminism. We now have the Republican platform, the Make America Great Again platform, is that at all costs we must protect women, protect women's sports, and make sure they have an ability to thrive in collegiate sports and below, secondary education, high school, junior high, grade school. President Trump is going to get it done. That I promise you. So with President Trump coming in and going to get those things done right off the bat, you better believe he is a wanted man from those on the left. Do not think that he is going to waltz into the White House on January 20th. The left is spelling out every single way possible they will try to stop him, including using a, quote, shadow government. They announced this from the floor of Congress. I thought that was a conspiracy theory. Shadow government and a deep state. Nope. They spell it out. And not to mention, don't put by the idea that they will try to assassinate President Trump again. We're going to talk about all of that when we continue, just what the left's plans are to stop President Trump from taking office and what we have to do to make sure that he does. Stick with me as Stinchfield continues. Happy New Year.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online fast and save $45. Your kit with prescriptions to treat common and life-saving illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit twc.health/grant. Promo code GRANT. That's twc.health/grant. Promo code GRANT.
All right, Happy New Year, everyone. As we continue Stinchfield, we now have confirmation. I've told you that angry liberal women are out there, and they're out there in numbers. In fact, we now have confirmation that angry liberal women are the angriest of the bunch. Listen to this.
Liberal women have overtaken liberal men as the unhappiest group. You find that particularly young women, very interesting new data show that white liberal women under 30 have almost a 6 in 10 chance of having been diagnosed with a mental illness in America today. It's a really big problem. And there's
So I told you that liberalism is a mental disorder. You got 6 in 10 young liberal women that have mental problems, and this is a psychologist basically breaking down these numbers.
Lots of speculation on what that has to do with politics, what has to do with race, what has to do with age, et cetera, et cetera. But what you find is that this is a group that's really, really struggling. And it's a pity because it's not good for them, it's not good for society, and that's what we see. So I don't think that being a political conservative is a panacea for being a happy person, but we see disproportionately these happiness and unhappiness effects in different parts of the population for sure.
I'm going to tell you what it's about. The reason conservatives are happy is because we take responsibility for our own actions. If we want to do something, we go out there and make it happen for ourselves. We're not waiting around for either someone to do it for us, our parents to do it for us, or God forbid, government to do it for us. But if you're liberal, especially a liberal woman, I'm telling you, these radical liberal women out there, sorry if I sound sexist, close second is these radical liberal men. They want everyone to do it for them. They want handouts. And when they don't get the handouts, it makes them very unhappy and it makes them angry. Hence the despair. That's going to do it for us. I'm happy, though, going into 2025. I hope all of you are too. Thanks for watching Stinchfield's Army Rolls. See you tomorrow.